Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the Developers Den podcast, where we talk about everything in the games industry, but from the eyes of two indie developers. My name is Siavash, aka Rainy, and my co-host today, I don't know which side really, is Sydney, aka Fem, joining us every day as she is the co-host.
I don't like being like, hi, I just, hey.
Yeah, well,
I exist.
It's kind of like like a bad cop, good cop, but like the energetic cop and the non-so-energetic cop, I guess.
I'm the non-energetic cop, right?
Non-energetic, yeah, it's like the...
Oh, okay, got it.
But yeah, we are here in our new format of podcast, so this is going to be a shorter episode compared to the episode 1, 2, and 3. So just like the previous episode is going to be half an hour, and if you are a Patreon supporter of ours, you can then watch the full extended episode, which would be an hour. So feel free to do that if you would like to. Yeah, so we have decided that every week we are going to talk about something different. Essentially, every other week we are going to talk about current events, and then in between that we are going to talk about a topic of game development, whether that's technical stuff or how to sell your game, for example, which is what we'll be doing in the next episode next week. So make sure to tune in for that one, where Sydney is going to give us a lot of insights, and I'm going to give you a lot of insights on Kickstarter. But besides
what
that,
not to do.
Well, look, the Kickstarter was successful, but like a lot of like business stuff, like biz dev, which is a scary word. But today we are going to be talking about current events, and we were looking at a lot of games that came out recently, like Pal World came out recently, Tekken came out, Like a Dragon came out, and we could talk about these games, how good they are, how bad they are, why they failed, why they're successful. But we feel like there are people who are more what's the word? They are better to cover these sorts of stuff because they actually spend a lot of times playing these games. We don't do that. We just play them casually, really. And
barely.
So instead we thought we'd kind of touch up on topics that we have kind of more of a better look from like the inside at. And we're going to talk about some problems that has been kind of brewing in the game dev scene very recently. A lot of things to do with I guess studios messing up, publishers messing up, and just companies being
money.
greedy.
We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about money.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about money and greed is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So
and the thing is if when it comes to current events in video games, you can go to any of the current events news sites and you're going to get all the information about Pal World and the new games and even a little bit of the business stuff, but it's always going to be reactions from the outside. And we kind of just wanted to give reactions from the inside. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. And,
So
I am... kick it off? Let me kick it off?
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, because I have had a kind of a read-through of what we're going to be talking about today, and I've obviously been following the news as it has been happening. But I know you've been doing some extra reading, so why don't you kind of lead us into it and through with it?
I think didn't do any extra reading on the first topic, so...
Yeah, I have.
This is your realm. I don't play these kinds of games, so it's
the
not
first thing
really something I would track.
Yeah, first we're going to talk about Silent Hill 2. So if you're unaware, Silent Hill 2 is getting a remake, and it is coming out pretty soon. I'm actually not sure what the release date is, but it is coming out pretty soon. Soon enough that we got a gameplay trailer. And Silent Hill 2, when it came out originally, it was kind of like a cult classic. It was kind of genre-defining for the horror genre. I mean, Silent Hill... the name of Silent Hill is synonymous with horror genre, if I'm honest.
And even I know that, and I'm not part of the genre.
So 2 coming out has been great, and a lot of people have been looking forward to the big remake of it. Now, behind this franchise is Konami, and Konami have been controversial, to say the least, recently. I mean, it all kind of started as soon as the Kojima thing happened.
I was gonna say Konami's the one that messed with Kojima.
Yeah,
right?
so Metal Gear Solid is an IP that Konami owns, and Kojima's name is again synonymous with Metal Gear Solid, so they fired him. And then they tried to make a game themselves in the Metal Gear Solid series called Metal Gear Survive, which flopped horribly. And Kojima went ahead and just made Death Stranding, and he's been doing pretty well
He's doing okay for himself.
But Silent Hill is another game that is handled by Konami, and the reason I'm saying that is because the team behind the Bluebird team, which is the developer team behind the remake of Silent Hill 2, they have not been very happy with something that's been happening recently. So recently they released a gameplay trailer for Silent Hill 2 that is upcoming, and the gameplay trailer kind of made fans a bit worried. It looks a lot like Resident Evil, so it looks very combat focused, but the people from Bluebird team kind of came ahead and said, hey, we didn't want to release that trailer because it doesn't portray the game in the correct way that we wanted to.
Yeah, which and the reason we wanted to kind of talk about this, we're not going to spend too long on it, but we kind of wanted to talk about how the game that you see in marketing isn't always the game that you get. And we all know this. I mean, we all went through Cyberpunk, you know, and I think there's often a huge disconnect between what marketing, like, it's not like marketing has bad intentions, right? It's not like anybody's going to try and go out there and like screw people and rip them off. But I think what often happens is there's a bit of a disconnect between like how long it takes to make a game, and then like when do we start marketing it and how do we market it. And I think a lot of marketing in video games uses very traditional methods of marketing, but unfortunately traditional methods of marketing just don't work in video games.
Yeah.
And we're learning that more and more and more. It used to be way back when we went to, you know, the gold copy of the game, the final version of the game that you then send out to get pressed into discs, and then, you know, that was how game production was. The traditional marketing made sense because you finish the game, it goes gold, and then it kicks off everything. Yeah. And at that point, the game's done, and now they can market it and they can whatever. But that's not how it works anymore. The digital age changed how that whole process works.
You can see, so like, I feel like some indie publishers, and I use the word indie lightly because some of them are AA publishers and they try to portray as indie. But either way, they have been kind of approaching marketing for games in a very different way, very social media active. And you can see posts that come across from games that are like either developers just post like what they're working on, and it's exciting. And I feel like a lot of the gamers these days just like to follow the actual development path of a game and see how a game is built. They're a lot more interested in that aspect of the game. It's not like a black box anymore.
I think
developers
there's
are
a
like
downside to it, though. There's a small downside. Sure. The downside is games are taking longer to make. Like,
oh, so it kind of dies down a bit over time?
Yeah, so like, you know, if we, let's say we were to start work on a new game tomorrow, right? If we wanted to show the whole process, if we wanted to show here's what pre-production looks like, here's what game design planning and production management, and then we go into, like, if we want to show everything from start to finish, as soon as you start showing stuff, the countdown timer begins. And 3 years later, which is where we're at now, we have people going, okay, but where's the game?
Yeah.
Because they're used to that 3-month window from the past, where it starts being marketed as soon as it goes gold, and then, you know, you get it in a few months. But now game companies are showing games as soon as we have something to show because we want to drum up hype. But then you get to the point where gamers are getting tired of waiting. So I don't think anybody's found the sweet spot yet, to be honest. I think there's still a lot of trial and error, but I think what the thing I want to leave this with to everybody who's watching, those of you who are gamers, is as hard as it is, please try to be patient, because it does not work the way that you think it works, and it's so much more complicated. And so when you have a marketing team that's trying to market a game while it's being produced, you end up with this weird disconnect of like, well, here's the stuff that we have planned, and then they're like trying to get the trailers to look the way that they think the finished product is going to look.
Yeah.
Which isn't terrible, but if something changes during that time period during production, you're SOL and you just try to sell a product that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So that's the one side of it. With what happened with Silent Hill is another thing that I think happens a lot, where you have marketing teams marketing games that they don't fully understand. Maybe they've never played it. They don't know what the like unique selling points of that game are. They don't quite understand what the audience is, and they're just marketing a game and doing the best that they think, but it's not actually the game as it was intended to be played.
I feel like there's another fault that the marketing team has made here, which caused this whole problem, is that they made a trailer that is really bang bang to the point, like very action focused, very action heavy, and that is a very kind of tone deaf way of approaching marketing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's just gonna sell because it has that kind of action packed video that everybody's going to be interested in. But one is that's not going to work for every game, and two, if there's anything to go by the fact that the environment and what's the word I'm trying to use, just the environment for the game marketing has changed a lot, is that gamers are not really looking to watch an action-packed trailer anymore most of the time. They just want to see what the game is at its core.
Well, you know what? This is actually, we can't speak for all gamers, right?
No,
we don't know.
Not everybody.
So actually, this is something I want anybody who's watching this, if you're watching this, if you're on YouTube or anywhere you can comment, go into the comments and tell us, like, what do you want to see from a video game trailer? Do you want to see realistic gameplay? Do you want to see cutscenes? Do you want to see like all the action points? Like, what do you expect from a trailer? Because I know what I look for, and I actually avoid trailers at all costs. I think they're a waste of my time. I don't believe anything that comes out of that's for movies, music, video. I avoid all trailers. I might watch like a sneak peek and then I'm out because I'm so sick of things being spoiled for me, and I don't like spoilers. But that's just me. Maybe I know you like spoilers. You don't care, right?
Yeah, sometimes. But I do have a quick little problem with what's been happening recently, and I feel like some trailers are showing too much these days. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, which came out recently, it has a very big plot twist, which I can talk about because it's in the trailer. I mean, if you don't want to,
serious?
If you don't want to know, please skip like towards the next
Why
3,
would you
4,
put
5
a
minutes.
plot twist in a trailer?
The main character, Kiryu, he's got cancer. That is a huge plot twist, that he's got cancer and he's dying. And he literally reveals that in the trailer. It's something that's get revealed halfway through the game. It's a super emotional point in the game. You're like, oh no, like he's been fighting all these bad guys and he's been fine, and now he's got a really real problem on his hands that could threaten his life. But they just did that in the trailer. And Lauren, my partner, is a massive fan of Yakuza series and Like a Dragon series, and she was pissed that they just did that in the trailer. Because
now
it would have
you
been
know why I avoid trailers.
So I totally get that. I don't know why a lot of games decided to do this and just show too much in the trailers. Maybe they're worried that their game isn't going to sell if they don't show everything they have to offer.
Well,
but that just
let's do some market research,
mystique,
right?
Yeah.
We're going to ask you guys, the people,
we're
tell
done,
us.
We're done with the spoilers, by the way, the trailer spoilers for Like a Dragon.
So let's talk about our game, right? Most people who are watching this probably know about SunnySide. So for those of you who are following SunnySide and want to know about it, what do you want to see in a SunnySide trailer? What do you want to see about the game overall? Do you want us to show stuff that we think is a little bit spoilery? Because I know there's stuff that I would be like, no, we can't put that in a trailer. But if people want to see it, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So tell us what you guys want to see. I'm really curious if I'm the only one, or I don't know.
To wrap things up on the Silent Hill trailer issue, I personally think that the climate of game trailers being super actiony has passed, and if there's anything to go by here, is that the fans are mad that the trailer showed what it did. And at core, Silent Hill is a slow-paced, super atmospheric, psychological horror game, and it should have had the pacing of the trailer should reflect that and what the content was. And just to again wrap it up, what they said, what the Bluebird team had said, is that it is not the spirit of either what it is used to be or what we're creating now. And then they're saying we're trying to fully reflect this romantic version about the game. And then we think that when the players see the real gameplay, the real game, they will judge it in a completely different way. So again, to me, it seems like that trailer portrayed the game in a very different way that the devs are very upset about. So there you go. That's our little take on what's been going on with Silent Hills trailer. Next topic, however, is a little bit
similar.
It's similar, but it's
different.
A lot more sour in my opinion.
Well, the thing is what we're kind of talking about at this point is what the theme of the episode is art and business don't mix well.
No.
And similar to like making a good salad dressing, you have to work really, really hard to get the two to emulsify, right? So like water and oil, it's like they're just so antithetical of each other. But we need them to work, and you can make it work. It's just you need to put a lot more effort into it than I think often goes into it. And so that's, marketing can get disconnected. And the other thing we want to talk about is where financing gets disconnected and the realism of art and how it works and how it's a complicated process that if you try to min-max the hell out of it, people are going to suffer. And people who have been unfortunate enough recently to work for any company that's owned by Embracer Group has dealt with that and experienced the negatives.
I feel like
that's kind of what we wanted to talk about.
I feel like just the name Embracer Group kind of strikes fear in the hearts of so many devs. But yeah, if you're not aware, Embracer Group is a company that started purchasing a lot of studios throughout, I believe, like 2021 and 2022. I don't know if 2021 is when they started, but it was about that time.
I feel like it was 2021.
Yeah, so they are in the industry. They are synonymous with mishandling of studios. So Saints Row, the latest game, was one that came out under their management. And this is loosely, but according to the dev team and what they have said, there was a lot of changes involved from them that ended up making the game the mess that it ended up being. And unfortunately, Volition, the studio that worked on Saints Row,
closed
down. And that is the fate of a few other studios recently, according to the news.
It's not even the mishandling, because that's a whole other topic of like what happens when publishers want a stake in like the IP and want ownership.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole other problem. But specifically, what happens when you have a corporation that owns a publishing company that's working on a video game? So you've got 3 people, right? And then if this group up here decides, hey, we want to restructure our entire business and reorganize how everything looks, it means that all the people down here at the bottom, are the ones who are going to get screwed. And so Embracer, I guess, has been spending the last year or so, they spent 2023 restructuring their business, which means they basically wanted to take all of their publishers and all of the studios, and they wanted to reorganize it so that it was a leaner, lean, mean fighting machine rather than the kind of conglomerate bullshit that it was. And because when you go around and you buy up a ton of companies, right, and you just take stuff that already exists, you have to consolidate it. So they've been consolidating, your favorite word, Rainy.
Yeah.
And in consolidation, you have to get rid of the stuff that doesn't work and the excess and whatever doesn't make you money. And so, from over the course of last year and this year, they've 1,400 people, primarily game developers, that they have laid off. And we know that, there's layoffs across the whole industry, but there's been a lot of consensus that the layoffs in the industry are not the result of the industry, the state of the industry. They're the result of one person does it, and then somebody else goes, oh, well, he can do it, I'm going to do it too. And then it creates this domino effect of, well, if everybody else is getting away with firing people and, going lean and whatever, well, I guess we all can do it. And now it's just a thing that's happening in the industry, rather than, it's a group of people being greedy is what it is. And it's insanely unfortunate.
Yeah, and it results...
People suffer.
It results to, according to Video Games Chronicle, about 29 unannounced games getting cancelled.
Yeah.
And amongst them was actually a game from the Deus Ex series. And Deus Ex series are some of the most beloved series of games. Each one has been very well received. There has not been one Deus Ex game that has not been well received, and they cancelled it, and that had a big backlash, understandably, from both developers and gamers that were looking forward to the next release in the game. The voice actor for the main character was quite upset as well, and was very vocal about what was happening.
I mean, I'd be upset if you have been working on something for 2 years. You're working towards a goal, right? What keeps you going is knowing that there's going to be an end point. There's going to be a payout, not even monetarily, just of seeing your work getting in front of people. And so to put in 2 years of work, 3 years of work, 4 years of work on the pre-production of something that everybody believes in and is passionate about, and to have that go away because some guy thousands of miles away decided that it didn't work within their new portfolio and it wasn't going to make them enough money. It's just...
Yeah, and I mean,
it's callous. It's really callous.
We don't know. It's 29 games. We don't know how long some of these games have been in development, right? Because as soon as a game hits a significant development time, that's a significant portion of your life that is going to nothing. You spent the last 5 years... It was literally a waste of
your time.
Yeah, you were spending the last 5 years working on something to then be proud of in the next 10, 20 years, and that's just never going to happen. And that is, that is a significant portion of your life that you wasted, and you're never going to get back just because of their decision. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of articles about this, so you can Google it and you'll find a ton, but I was reading a great one from Game Developer, which is a really awesome news source. I've got a bunch of notes over here on the side, and one of the things that stuck out to me was that so they wanted to transition out of their current heavy investment mode to begin a highly cash flow generative business. So we're done taking everybody else's business, and now we're going to consolidate them into something that makes us the most money possible. Okay, fine, that's sure. And then the article went on to say, like, how many people they laid off. And the thing that got everybody, that really upset everybody, is in a shareholder meeting, they publicly stated that they have an unrelenting commitment to maximizing shareholder value. And that every decision that they make is with the intention of maximizing shareholder value. For anybody who doesn't know, the shareholders are the people who publicly own the company. So it's not about giving good games. It's not about providing a healthy work life for their employees. It's not about taking care of the business. It's literally our number one goal is making as much money for the shareholders as possible.
That's quite literally what they said publicly.
And it's just...
Yeah, I mean,
what were you saying earlier? How, like,
this is Disney villain level of evilness. Yeah, that actually doesn't feel real. That a company would publicly say that. It's crazy.
Yeah. And to be proud of it and to, like, oh, this is something. And you know what? Here's the thing. It's going to work. They're going to make tons of money. Yeah. And that's the disappointing part, is they're going to make tons of money off of the backs of thousands of people who were disposable. And it's just, yeah. So the other thing that really got me was this part about what their expected rate of return is. So
I haven't seen that part, actually.
Yeah, so you'll hear a lot of companies talk about their ROIs, okay? That's their return on investment. So if I put in $1 million to make a video game, I would at the very least want to make my $1 million back, okay? Makes sense. If you want to make money after that, you're looking at a 100% return on your investment. So you're going to get, what you put into it, and then you'll get double that. So it's like a 1 times back. If you're really ambitious, you're looking for a 2 times, which means you're going to make your money back and you're going to make twice that in profit. So what they were saying was that for their third-party published games, so these are games that publishers that they own have gone out to publish. They don't own the game or any, rights to it, but they just have the publishing, part of it. For those third-party publishing games, they want their ROI to be 1%. which is fine. We want double whatever we put into it.
Yeah.
Sure, that's okay. For all of their other games that they do in-house, where they're paying for the whole thing and, you know, it's like Silent Hill, anything that, you know, is whatever owned by that company, they want their ROI to be 3.2 times.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Because when you spend $1 million to make a game, that $1 million is going to the people who are making the game, right? That's paying for your developers, it's paying for marketing, that's paying for porting, that's paying for localization. That's what it costs. Your profit is everything after that. So it's not just enough for them to say, we spent $1 million, we want to make 2. They're saying we spent $1 million and we want to make back 5? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane. And I feel like this is going to end up obviously defining some of the decisions they're going to make towards these games, especially if they have a bigger hand in creating the games, especially if it's in-house. I feel like this is going to end up creating a lot of games that have aggressive monetization inside of it.
Yep.
So that whether that be microtransactions, battle passes and stuff. And I hope that they fail. I hope
they fail
that
too.
people vote with their wallets.
Their wallets, yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes when I see what happens to certain games that are just egregiously only created for profit, it gives me a bit of hope when people just don't buy them, when the player bases dwindle, when just nobody pays attention to it just because of the egregious... I mean, look at the Avengers game. That was another game that was Embracer Group, actually. And the entirety of the game was a live service that was created for the business, for the profit. There was really not much of a soul to it. You could tell this was sad because I played the game and you could tell I played quite a bit of it actually. You could tell that there were people who cared for this game. There were people who really wanted it to work because there are certain aspects of it that you can
people who loved Marvel.
Yeah, but the game is dead. The game is dead in the waters. And you could tell it was monetization just because of what was inside of the game, but also the fact that the very first thing that came out of the game was a collaboration they were doing with, I don't know if it was AT&T or Virgin or something like that, and they had skins that had literally the logos of the company on it. It's like, who's going to pay for that?
I want to be clear about something. There is nothing wrong with wanting to make money off of the thing that you make.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally valid. The problem is when you make the thing specifically with the purpose of making money. That's the difference. And video games at their most basic level are art. It's an art form. And you could look at, I always parallel things to the movie industry, right? How does it work in the movies that so many people understand? And for the most part, when movies come out, you can tell if it was for art or if it was just to make money. And people like to say that Marvel is all about making the money, but when you go and you watch the movies, there's so much passion and care and artistry behind every single movie that they put out. Even the ones that were a little too fast, there's still a lot of passion happening. But when you look at video games, it's really easy to see when they lose the passion and when it's just about making money. EA is a great example. Every FIFA game that exists, those games are not made by people who are passionate about football and letting people around the world play football. That's not what those games are for. They're made because people will buy them and spend money on them, and it's a moneymaker.
I'm going to quote...
And that's depressing.
I'm going to quote a tweet that I saw that somebody had put up that said, FIFA series is one of the most damaging game series to the industry ever.
100%. Yeah.
And I never want to call out players, but a lot of gamers who play these games, they spend the money on it and they vote with their wallets. And it does define decisions that are made towards other games by doing that.
But thankfully, we're at a point now, we're kind of in the golden age of indie games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about games that are making money, right? So we're back to Pal World is actually a decent example. Is Pal World an indie game? No, not technically.
Yeah,
there was a lot of money spent on it. However, it was not made Well, maybe it was kind of made with the intention of making money, but it's a good game. People like it. They're enjoying it. They're having fun with it. At its core, the idea was, let's take the game that people want, that we know they want, that they've been asking for, and let's just make it and let them have fun with it. And that's why it worked. If you want to look at another, probably better example,
I mean, Lethal Company is a very good example. Because
that's what I was looking for, was Lethal Company.
Yeah. I specifically noted the dev, by the way. I don't know if you know, but the dev of Lethal Company was a dev on Roblox. A super young solo developer on Roblox decided to actually make a game on Unity.
Good for them.
And it just blew up because it was a good game. And Lethal Company, absolutely not made with any intention of making money. And
it was a game to have fun.
It was just a fun game.
And the fact that that kind of passion and love was rewarded with a lot of money makes me really happy.
That gives me so much hope.
That's how it should work. Yeah. That's why this industry works the way that it does. And there have been a lot of businesses who have, from the outside, looked in and gone, oh, people are willing to spend money on video games? Well, let's capitalize on that. Yeah. Without really understanding why people are willing to spend money on video games. We're not going to buy a video game because it's a video game. Yeah. We're going to buy a video game because it inspires us, because it's fun, because it's exciting, because it's whatever. And thankfully, I think indies and even AA are still fighting for that.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with a couple exceptions, I think AAA's pretty much left that behind. And I think if I want to end this on anything...
AAA games that do work, you can really follow their roots to indie. I mean, Larian's a very good example.
Yeah, that's a good example. And what I was going to say is, just what I want to end it with, is like... Oh, crap, I lost my train of thought. Was... Yeah, you interrupted me. Is that if you... No, I lost it. It was a great closer, too. Damn you for interrupting me.
Well, I was going to say, if you are an indie dev or looking to become one, and you're wondering how to start, please do go check out our episode 4, where we talk about all of that. So you want to make a game. And if you do want to actually know more about the money side of things, the experiences that we got through SunnySide and the lessons that we learned, next week we are going to be touching on that subject. And there is going to be an extended version of this where we go into more detail, more interesting kind of insider kind of information that we might have, or insights that we might have on stuff, which is going to be right after we finish the non-extended version of this. So if you do want to check that out, please do check us out on Patreon. The links are all below. We really appreciate all of your support. And has that thought come back, or are we gonna keep it for extended? Maybe it comes back in extended. Yeah, sorry. But follow us on all the social media, please. Thank you. And if you want more Developers Then podcasts, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, and as I said, we have a Patreon with extended versions. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week with business side of indie devs. See ya.
Yeah.